President Trump has signed an executive order temporarily suspending all US foreign assistance programs for 90 days. The move aims to review whether these programs align with his foreign policy goals. President Trump's executive
2018. It's the leaders of America's closest allies, all looking in one direction, and President Trump looking in another. It's just a photo, but it speaks to one of the biggest questions in the world right now. Two major powers, the US and the Soviet Union.
European countries were weak, and some worried the Soviets might invade them and spread communism.
To protect against that, the US formed a collective alliance with 11 other countries. The North Atlantic Agreement was simple. An armed attack on one member would be regarded as an attack on all, requiring every member to come to its assistance. But the reality was more complicated. The US had a massive military, while these countries had weak ones, if any at all. Between 1989 and 1991, the Soviet Union and its communist allies in Europe fell apart. Now the US was the world's only superpower, and most of its allies were safe from invasion. But for NATO, that created an existential question.
Their cause is America's cause.
We will defend our allies and our interests.
America will always act, alone if necessary, to protect our people and our allies.
Still, these alliances were drifting. NATO also helped the US invade Afghanistan after the 9/11 attacks in 2001 and supported parts of the war in Iraq in 2003. Meanwhile, in Asia, the US had stayed close with South Korea and Japan to counter North Korea. But the fall of the Soviet Union in 2004, NATO had added 7 more members, including these 3 known as the Baltic states. Leaders in Russia became concerned that NATO had reached its borders, and after NATO made plans to add Georgia and Ukraine, it decided to act. Russia invaded Georgia in 2008, then Ukraine in 2014, preventing either country from joining NATO. But those invasions also had another purpose.
You can think about Russia's invasion of Ukraine as a prelude to what could
Would
happen.
the US and its allies actually be willing to go to war to defend one of these small countries?
Over in Asia, China developed a similar strategy.
Since the end of the Cold War, China has become the second biggest, and it built a military and missile stockpile capable of controlling this whole region.
Both Russia and China have developed military strategies that seek to demonstrate to American allies that the United States can't protect them.
It's also issued huge loans and built infrastructure projects in dozens of countries around the world, giving them not just economic leverage in those places, but political leverage as well.
Russia and China leave the United States and its allies scrambling to respond.
In 2016, it elected a president who took things in a dramatically new direction.
We've defended other nations' borders, subsidized the armies of other countries. It's going to be only America.
President Trump's view was that many international agreements were inherently unfair to the US, and that the US could get a better deal by negotiating relationships with each individual country. So he pulled the US out of several agreements previously made with allies, drawing from alliances unless allies spent more on defense.
NATO members must finally contribute their fair share and meet their financial obligations.
Trump had a point. In 2016, many allies were still under their spending goals.
Cooperatively with other nations, to share our values and goals doesn't make America suckers. It makes us more secure.
And he's running on a platform that would pull America's allies closer.
Who's the first world leader you would reach out to?
I